SimpleCarGuy here, and today we are checking out the CGSULIT SC880. When I reviewed the SC870 a while back, I wished it included more special functions, and this is exactly what the SC880 is. Not only is it a full system scanner, but it also offers over 25 service functions for not much more money. So let's check it out. Here, looking at the box, we can see all the benefits listed on the right side here. It works on basically any vehicle, so 80 US, Asian, and European vehicle makes. Of course, it works with OBD1 and OBD2 vehicles, and even the latest ones. You can update this device from your computer. It has auto VIN and a bunch of other good functions, which we will review once we're actually working with the unit. Here are some of the special functions. So you have the oil reset, EPB, battery registration, you have your TPS and steering sensors and TPMS and injector calibration, a bunch of other stuff. Here's what the device is going to look like. On the side here, we see that it's going to be 4.3 TFT color display. This is not a touchscreen, which I kind of like. When you work with dirty hands, you don't really want to, have to touch the screen and then wipe it and all that stuff. But yeah, basically it's a CS880, all systems, all makes, auto VIN scan, and free updates through a computer, as I mentioned. It does do graphs, so we'll see how well those refresh. I know in the previous video somebody mentioned they want to see that, so we'll check that out. But yes, let's see what's inside. All right, so we have some documentation. We have the warranty card. We have the manual, so this will definitely tell you how to use it, how to get started, how to do some basic diagnostics. But yeah, watch the video if you want to see more details. And at the end here, it tells you how to update the software through your computer as well. You get a couple of cables. You have your mini USB for transferring data or updating. You can also take the micro SD card out and do it that way. You have your OBD2 cable that plugs into the device and then into your car, and the actual device itself. So the construction is basically exactly the same as the CS870 that I have reviewed previously. So check that one out if you want to see more details on that one. But on the side here, we have the micro SD card. You can take this out and plug it into your computer to update, or you can plug the device into the computer using the included cable from the bottom here. Nothing on this side, and that's where you're going to plug in your OBD2 port. And on the back here, you have the working voltage, so this will not work in 24-volt systems, so like the big diesel trucks, operating temperature, and that's about it. The buttons, I really like the buttons here because they are not, they don't have any holes around them. So if you get this dirty working with your greasy hands and things like that, you can easily wipe this off and it'll be nice and clean the next time you use it. Similar thing for the touch screen. Basically, you wipe it off and it looks brand new again. On the sides, you have rubberized coating, or I guess it's kind of like a case. So that feels really nice and it's not going to slip out of your hand. Either way, let's go plug this into a car and see what it can do. All right, now that we're in the car, let's take a closer look. As you can see, this device is on the larger size, but definitely nothing out of the ordinary for devices with this type of functionality. It's still very comfortable in the hand, and you can have a big screen, a large screen here at the top, so you can see all of the details. Anyway, looking at the menu here, we can see that we have a few different options. We have auto VIN, OBD2, diagnostics, maintenance, settings, data manager, and update. So I'll start with the easy ones first, just to get them basically out of the way, and then we'll get to the good stuff. We'll start with the settings. So we're going to go to settings, language. So here are all the different languages that you might be interested in. I know that's important for some people. You also have your units. So you have metric or imperial. We'll switch to imperial just because I'm more used to that. We also have shortcuts. So you see these 3 shortcuts here at the bottom. You can set those up here in the shortcuts menu. Beep, I'm going to turn that off because I'm sure you guys will not enjoy beeping for the next 10 minutes. You can also do display test, keyboard test, and just get more information about the device. Anyway, next is data manager, and data manager is basically where you will store your reports. So when you run reports and diagnostics, it will store it in there if you like. And the last option here, update. Updates is basically where you would go to if you use the port or the port on the bottom here to plug into the computer and do the updates. Of course, you can also just take the micro SD card out as well. Now, the top 4 options here, you have auto VIN, so this will automatically search the vehicle's VIN and then figure out what that vehicle is, and then give you the options for that vehicle. OBD2 is your standard OBD2 functionality. You get in a lot of scanners, basically any scanner that's, you know, even $20, $30, $40, you will have that functionality. But of course, it's included here as well, and it's a little bit more feature rich. But I will not be going into this just because I think we can spend our time better in the diagnostic and the maintenance options on this device, since it's a lot more interesting to look at. And diagnostics is basically gonna give you the same options as AutoVIN, except you have to do it manually. So if you go in here, you will have to manually select the vehicle that you are in. Maintenance we'll talk about in just a minute. So I'm gonna start with AutoVIN, which, like I said, is basically the same as diagnostics. We're gonna do automatic VIN acquirement, so it doesn't have to, you don't have to enter it manually. Yeah, that's correct. That's my VIN number. That's the car, correct. And now we have that option, just like I mentioned, diagnostic. So basically we go in here and we have a couple of options. We do quick scan and we have control modules. You can go to control modules and basically select the individual module that you would like. This is great if you know you're working on your brakes or whatever it is and you just need the information. This will save you time, but not having to scan the entire car. But we'll just do quick scan and it will scan all of the modules that this car offers. And to be clear, this will scan every single module within each system. So if you have 2 ECUs for your engine, it will scan both of them. After a couple of minutes, we have all 25 modules scanned on this vehicle, and you will be presented with faults for those that have some faults in it, or it'll just say pass or no fault for the ones that don't have any faults, right? And of course, it includes all of the ones for basically every system in the vehicle. As an example, I will show you the combi, which is going to be that right there, because it's easier to show if we, if you can do some testing on it. But you also have a shortcut here that will erase all of the codes automatically without having to go into the actual module. But we're going to go in the module by just pressing OK. And here we have a few options. We have our read codes. So we'll read what the code was that we saw earlier. All right, and here are the codes that are present on this module. So there's some kind of invalid transmission for the driving light. Not exactly sure what that is, but we're going to save it. So we're going to save that to our data management that we saw earlier, so we can save it and review it later if we'd like. Going back, we can go ahead and erase those codes. So we're going to clear them, and there you go, they're now cleared. So if you go back to reading those codes, unless this is a permanent code, there should be nothing there. So as you can see, one of them is a permanent code, so there's an actual issue that needs to be fixed on this vehicle. We can of course look into that further if you'd like to, but this gives you the idea of how it works. And to be clear, if you use a standard OBD2 scanner, these codes will not show up, because the standard OBD2 functionality scanners, they only show you engine, and some of them show you transmission codes, and those are generic. These are module and vehicle specific codes. So if you Google that code that we just saw, it'll be much, much more informative than if you just Google a standard code. But here is the live data. So we have a possibility to read live data off of every single module as well. So as an example, we can go to the onboard computer button, so we can look at that data, and we're just going to select all of it and then press F3. So you might be asking, why is this useful? Well, it's actually very useful because you can test buttons and sensors and a bunch of different things like that. As an example, we have the onboard computer button, also known as the BC button, here on the steering wheel. So I'm going to press the button, and there you go. It shows you steering column button pressed. So you have information like that that you can easily test using this device. And you can do a lot of this on basically any module. You can get live data from every single module on basically any vehicle you can imagine. Anyway, I wanted to show you a little bit more about the live data, so I went to the air conditioning module. So we're going to go to live data, and we'll see a little bit more how the graphs are working and how fast they refresh. Okay, so once in the module, you can see how much stuff you can see from this module. There's a lot of things you can see in here, which is pretty cool. But we're going to go to air conditioning compressor. and we're going to select all of it. So this is all of the data that we can see just for that one part of the AC system. We're going to click OK. And once it loads, you can see live value for each one of these sensors or informational units. What we can do here, though, is we can click Graph and see how fast it actually upgrades or updates in real time. So I'm going to do multi-graph. That way we see a few different items in here. So as an example, we have actual speed. So this is going to be the speed of the air compressor. I'm going to increase the air conditioning inside the vehicle. So there it is. So now you can see live speed. I'm going to go even higher. And I'm going to decrease it to about 50% again. Or at least 3 out of 5 LEDs. I'm not sure what the percentage is exactly. But as you can see, it's updating live, and you can see the refresh rate in case that's important to you. Anyway, let's go back all the way to the main menu and check out some of the other features. All right, so everything you've seen so far can basically be done on the SC870 version of this device. But now let's check out what makes this a more premium unit and why do you want to pay a little bit extra for it. So we're going to go to the maintenance items, and here are all of the maintenance items that you can perform with this unit. To be very, very clear, not all of them will work on every single vehicle. Your vehicle must support this functionality in order for it to work. But you have your air fuel ratio adaptation service, so you can do that. You can do airbag replacement, so you can program the ECU after you replace your airbag or even other airbags, not just the steering wheel one. You have your ABS services. You have your battery replacements. You can register your vehicle's battery. Most new vehicles require battery to be registered, so you can do that with this device. You can do your diesel particulate filter registration. I believe that's what it's called. Not very familiar with that one. I don't have a diesel vehicle. You also have your maintenance functions for CVT, clutch adaptation. You can change the tire size. So if your speed does not show correctly, you may need to change that so your vehicle knows your speed better, basically. You can also do your electronic parking brakes. So if you are replacing brakes, you may need to use this function in order to release your electronic brake, and then you'll be able to change your brake pads much easier. EVAP test, gear learning, headlamps adjustment. This is pretty cool. Might need to do this on my BMW 335. Oil resets. So of course, when you replace your oil, you may need to reset it if you don't want to deal with the menus in the actual vehicle. Odometer adjustment. So this will only be done on supported vehicles. I don't think BMWs allow you to do that. You can do injector registration or compensation. So you can adjust the compensation in your injectors in order for them to work properly and you don't get your lean codes and things like that. You can prime the fuel pump, so you don't want to start usually the car when you've just replaced the fuel pump without actually having some fuel in it. You can also do the steering angle sensor, seat matching, transmission oil, TPMS, the throttle position sensor, transmission learn, turbos, and windows. So as you can see, there's a lot of options on here for the maintenance functions, and honestly, paying the extra $40 or whatever it is to get all of these options is a pretty good deal in my opinion. All right, back at the main menu, I just wanted to show you one last thing, and that's the data manager. So if you go in here, we can see that fault code that we saved earlier. So if you just press F3, we see those codes that we had on the module, even though we have erased them from the car itself. So to summarize this scanner, I think it's a very good value for what you're getting. It does all system scanning. It has a bunch of special functions. It has a very large LCD screen, which is easy to see in the sun, which I like. Also easy to clean buttons, and they're clicky, so you definitely know when you've clicked them. Some things to think about when you're buying this is that this is a non-Wi-Fi scanner, so you do not connect to Wi-Fi to run your updates and things like that. But I'm starting to like these more and more just because there's no registration, there's no email that needs to be provided, there's nothing like that. It basically works. So when you got it, it will work, and if you want, you can update it, but it's not necessary for it to actually do its job. Or it's also not necessary for it to connect to the internet in any way for it to do its job. So it will do exactly what it's doing now in 10 years if you just let it be. Of course, updates are important, but I think you get my point. Also, it does not have bidirectional functionality, but of course that's represented by the price of this unit. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to purchase one yourself, there will be a link in the description down below. Leave your comments, let me know what you think. Like the video if you liked it, and I'll see you in the next one.